Hello, everyone, and welcome back to how delayed are we? Like 2 days
2
delayed,
days.
two
Yeah.
days delayed episode. Um, it's the holiday times. We were plenty busy here. Um, Shola's birthday. Did we do that yesterday or Monday? I guess
It
Monday.
was Monday. We did it
Monday we
Monday.
were out
So
for
when you were
Shola's
supposed to
birthday.
record, we were
Yeah,
out.
yesterday we were both. He was skiing. I was out and about, and we have like a couple hour gap here before we gotta be places for New Year's. So delayed recording, but we hope that we can still cover everything we need to cover. In this episode, we're going to be recapping the three games that passed. Fortunately, it's not four. They take on the Winnipeg Jets like 2 hours after recording this, 3 hours. They started at 6:30.
Yeah.
So by the time you're seeing this, the Winnipeg game will probably be over. Um, we're going to be talking about some midseason report cards for Moritz Seider, Andrew Kopp, Jacob Bernard Docker, and I believe Mason Appleton. We're trying not to do too many headliners in one episode so we can kind of space them out, keep the segments going. We're going to dabble in the World Juniors a little bit, talk about who's there, talk about what we might see before getting into our week MVPs, best moment, and the recaps for the game tonight and the back to back against Pittsburgh, and possibly one other game before we're back with you next. All of that and more in this episode of the Kicking Tires podcast. Merry Christmas to all, or happy holidays, whatever you guys celebrate. And yeah, we're going to be back to normal next week on Mondays. Thank you guys for sticking with us, and we're gonna hop right into segment one. Okay, segment one. We're talking about the game recap. Detroit had a huge game in Dallas. I think we were both talking about this. Like game of the year for me so far. This was an absolute. I don't want to say barn burner, but it had its goals. It had its big saves. Certainly good moments from pretty much everybody on both teams. Like this was a star-studded affair. Wyatt Johnson got in on it for Dallas. Rupe Hintz had a good game. Dylan Larkin had a big game. Lucas Raymond, 3 points. Mo Seider continues to have a really dominant month. It was a great game. I think Dallas got a lot more favorable calls. I was on the JVR penalty. Rupe Hintz on the faceoff went too early like 3 times, and the second he didn't get waived, I knew a goal was going in. But ultimately, they pull off a win against a very good Dallas team. I mean, we were talking about this on the top of last episode. Like this Dallas team is among the best in the NHL, and this was going to be a bit of a heat check, a bit of a litmus test for what this team really is, and if they can hang with the best teams in the NHL. And they hung with them and they won, right? Like Dylan Larkin, um, huge goal, two huge goals. One of them was set up really nicely from James Van Riemsdyk. The other one just pulls the shot, curl and drag in overtime. I mean, what a game from Dylan Larkin, big game from Mo Seider, and even the fourth line of James Van Riemsdyk and JT Compher, which we'll try to talk about a little bit in this episode, but they're not really in our second segment, other than Mason Appleton briefly, but they've been just so great. Rasmussen, Compher, Van Riemsdyk, Appleton, whoever's on that line has been really good as of late. McClellan's clearly got through to them. So Shola, what did you see from the Dallas game? Any standout performances, or what did you like overall?
Honestly, I think it was a pretty standout performance from everybody on the team, really. I thought the goalkeeping was pretty sharp from John Gibson. Obviously, some of the goals were, I can't even say all of them were his fault. Um, Actually, no, I'm gonna say none of them were his fault. Some of them were on the power play. Some of them just went through. One of them, I think, was off a tip. So there's nothing we can do to stop it. There is some, I guess you can see some positioning errors you can see from him. Like he goes when he telegraphs a shot a little too easily. That's why he leaves half of the net open. Like when I saw it on the tip goal, I think he leaves his body too much to one side, and that's where it went in. But to be honest, it was pretty steady goalkeeping from him. It's not like you saw him like if this was a John Gibson that we saw earlier in the season, this probably would have been a 7-4 game instead of a 3-4 game. So it was pretty steady goalkeeping from him. Lucas Raymond doing Lucas Raymond things. 3 points from him. That's a standout performance. James Van Riemsdyk, the man, what like man, his assist of the year. I don't want to see like I don't want to hear anything else. Through his legs, through the defender's legs to Dylan Larkin for the
Yeah,
a bolt of a shot. It was picture perfect, honestly. Like even the announcers are calling it. Like everyone was, you can see it in the arena. The amount of the screams you can hear is just that's what you love to see. And ending it off with the main man himself, Dylan Larkin. After the game, I texted like right when he got his goal, I texted Alex. I was like, he better get a captain spot on Team USA. I was like,
Yeah, like
that's what you need from your guy.
yeah,
So
Larkin, like, about the Team USA stuff, like, I there's only like really like one, like Matthews is not getting a captain spot. Like I think Dylan Larkin might like be an underrated candidate to walk out of that team with maybe an A or a C. Like he's been fantastic. He's going to be on Team USA almost without a doubt. And he continues to cement his case. Even in a relatively slower month for both him and Lucas Raymond, even Alex DeBrincat at times, like coming through in the big moments is what you need from your star players, especially the players who are wearing letters on this team, your captains, your alternates. It was a big win. It was a feel-good win. Again, game of the year, in my opinion. Just an absolutely, like, incredible game. Just two top dogs of the East and the West going at it. And it's nice to see Detroit, like, hang with the good teams for once and not just get lucky in a win. They did it top to bottom. So it was a big win for the team. Then we had the Christmas break, roster freeze and everything. No real news came out of any of that. Like, Patrick Kane returned to the Toronto game, not the Carolina game. The Carolina game, it was bad. Like, there's not too much to say about it, really. Like, they got very clearly outclassed by Carolina, who was still missing some of their top players. But a team like that lost three in a row. Still a very talented team, but like you knew that they weren't going to let this one go easy. They were playing much harder, much faster. They were the first to every puck. John Gibson gave Detroit a lifeline through two periods. That first, the fourth line scored first for Detroit. Again, it was Comfer making a nice steal on the boards, getting into Michael Rasmussen, who buried. Like that line has continued to be really good. They can play like a checking offensive role, a steady defensive role. Like they're a very versatile line, and they get good minutes depending on the matchup. They can play more or less. Like you can see that Todd McClellan really likes the combination he found there, be it Mason Appleton or James Van Riemsdyk with them. They all mesh really well together. They've been producing really well, better than the sum of their parts. Like that's not a line with a lot of offensive pedigree. JT Compher is not what he used to be. Michael Rasmussen has never really been an offensive guy. Even James Van Riemsdyk, like he's flirting with 20 goals. Like he's hasn't been a 20 goal scorer in like years. Especially Mason Appleton too, like not known for offense. Like these guys are all playing greater than the sum of their parts, and that's exactly what you need from a grit and grind personality line. And they've been really good. So they were a big story coming away from this game. Detroit got a chance late in the third period. Axel Sandin Pellikka found John Leonard, who found Andrew Kopp, who continues to be one of the best stories of December for Detroit, to pull him within one. But a little bit later in the game, Dylan Larkin blows a tire in his own end. Sandin Pellikka makes a pretty poor pass to him. And it leads to Andrei Svechnikov just stealing or ripping the puck home, pretty much putting the nail in the coffin. Rough game to watch, but it was all about bouncing back. Like, again, like, Detroit's been so good in December where, like, picking up a loss to a team like Carolina, you almost can't be too mad about it just because of how good they've been. Like we didn't say too much after the loss. It was just like, yeah, like that's going to happen at some point. Like this team is not Colorado. This team is not like Dallas. This team is not even like Carolina. Like they are not a powerhouse of the NHL yet. They are not one of the best teams. When they're hot, water's going to find its level at some point, but it's about winning the games you should win and staying in the games you shouldn't. They largely did that this week, and then they took on a poor season from the Maple Leafs, but they've been hotter as of late. And, obviously that's a game for both of us where we're from Toronto. If they lose that game, we're going to hear it from all of the people we know, all the Leafs fans we know. We were out with one of them the other day. Like, it's a game that means more to us, but like it still is a historic matchup, like original six teams, all the history, whatever. Detroit's already stole two from them this year. I thought they would be really, really lucky to take three from Toronto, but they did it anyway. Like a really gritty win. Again, that fourth line showed a big. Toronto scores a goal and just a terrible Sandin Pellikka turnover. Like absolutely unforgivable. John Tavares just strips him of the puck. Nick Robertson blasts one home, and legitimately 20 seconds later, Rasmussen gets it ahead to Mason Appleton, who is just a Leaf killer apparently. Snaps one home, ties up the game, and then Detroit would be able to kind of shoulder that off until overtime. They rang a bunch of posts. Like Andrew Kopp had a post late. Lucas Raymond hit a post. They had a couple plays that they should have scored on. Really just a crazy, crazy game. Like even Toronto had a lot of good chances. You think of Matthews in overtime. You think of the, I believe it was a Scott Lawton breakaway early. There was a lot happening in this game. But ultimately, it's a Dennis Hildeby. Watching this game with my dad, who's a big Leafs fan, like both of us were like, what the hell was Hildeby doing there? Dennis Hildeby makes a flying poke check, presumably to get it to Matthews, but he just didn't get enough on it. Simon Edvinsson comes off the bench. I'll talk a little bit more about Simon Edvinsson as we go on. Absolute warrior this game, but makes a really nice move, cuts out in front. Little drag to the backhand, right out in front of Hildeby, avoids the poke check, slides it into the corner. Big celebration. You could hear it in the Ken Cal call, even the Ken Daniels call, but especially the Ken Cal call. People were happy to see this one. It was a huge game, huge win for the Red Wings, big bounce back. Again, another feel-good game. As I kind of hinted at, Simon Edvinsson earlier in this game took a bullet off what looked like his knee, which to anyone who's ever had any injury there in any sports, you know that you might as well feel nothing in your leg for a little bit. And he immediately falls to the ice, but he gets back up. He blocks a shot while injured. He goes to the bench, goes to the dressing room, gets all painkillered up, and comes back out for the third in overtime. And he really makes his, as Shola would say, makes his presence felt in the overtime. Like just first shift on, couple seconds on the ice, just immediately makes the difference. It's a great game from Simon Edvinsson, and he's a guy that we've had the microscope on a little bit post Quinn Hughes drama. Like he was kind of the rumored piece that missed. We were both voices saying like, look, you got to go get Quinn Hughes when that's available. Simon Edvinsson, as much as he might not be Quinn Hughes, he continues to really make his case on why Detroit kept him. Like, I think he's been better post Hughes drama. So again, proving the rebuild right and just continuing to develop as a player alongside Mo Seider, who had a goal in this game, huge goal in this game. It was a great game for the Red Wings. Great story. By the end of it, you feel good. Cam Talbot played really well too, not to overshadow him. Detroit has one game left this month. It's this Winnipeg game that we talked about. We'll get to it more in our second segment, but for a team that struggled in December's mightily, especially as of late, last couple of years, they've played themselves out of the playoffs a couple times in December. This has been a fantastic month for the Red Wings. Obviously, win tonight against Winnipeg goes a long way in helping them both bolster their odds. It would put them to 50 points, putting them on a pace for 100 points for the season, which should be clear the playoff line. It's a big game tonight, big game against a struggling team, but nonetheless, this has been a very good month for the Red Wings, and it is kind of a symbol of turning a page a little bit. So, Joel, what did you see from the last two games, I guess, of this week, and then what have you thought of their month as a whole, their whole December?
To be honest, I'll talk about the month first. The Red Wings went 8, 10. They have 10 wins in December, and yeah, 10. They went 10-4 in December. I don't know why it took me that long to find it out, but they went 10-4 in December. Positive records. I keep seeing posts on Instagram and all that saying, "Oh, it's December and the Red Wings are still first in the Atlantic." It was like it's a good sight to see, and I agree with them. It is a great sight to see after hearing all those things that are happening last season. Obviously, not really following hockey last season, but hearing all the things from Alex and just seeing it like from beginning of the year as 2025 comes to a close, but beginning of the year till now, seeing how the Red Wings are turning a page, finding their footing with this star-studded team. Um, it's good to see, and if they can get a win here, that would take us. That would give
Yeah,
me good hopes for 2026.
really cap
But
off the month well.
yeah, really, and yeah, we'll end up 11-4. They have the most games played in the NHL, so they can get if they can get this
It's
done,
just
that's
ridiculous.
pretty
Like
good.
no
Yeah, I
rest
don't
for
know.
this
They've played
team.
half their games in the
I know.
season,
No
and it's only
rest
been
for
like
this
three
team.
months.
The schedule
But
makers
yeah,
refuse to give them a break, and they've
I,
done well regardless.
yeah, but they've been great. for the team in general, um, my MVP, um, we're gonna get to it, but Mo Seider, still been playing fantastic. The goal that he got against Toronto was a bullet. And I don't even know how it went in because the amount of bodies that were in front of the
Yeah.
goal and it still went in. It was pretty nice to see. He's still playing great defensively. He got 2 more points in the Dallas game as well. Like, there's a lot of things you can take away from most of his games. Even Simon Everson as well. Like Alex just said, proving why he's a key piece to this team as well. Um, there are, I guess, there's not really negatives you can take away from this week because everyone really played well. Obviously, in the beginning of the season, we were a Michael Rasmussen hate podcast. He has 3 points in 3 games, so that's pretty good from him. The fourth line, third line, bottom nine scoring, again, as we talked about earlier in the year, they're coming up. I guess the only negatives, when quotation marks, you can take away. Marco Casper is still struggling. Alex DeBrincat hasn't gotten a point in a while and really hasn't scored in a while.
Yeah, he's actually been
But
on the stat sheet for like a handful of
he,
games now.
yeah, but they're winning games without him. And we were talking about, is he the Red Wings MVP? So clearly they got pieces around him that we can still fight to be one of the best teams in the league, really.
Yeah.
Lucas Raymond's still doing his thing. Dylan Larkin, he obviously didn't get a point in the Leafs game or the Carolina game, but he's still Dylan Larkin. So there's just a lot of positives you can take. And before I close, Cam Talbot, he played really well. Obviously, the 2 goals. Like, honestly, I am not, again, what I said with the Dallas game. I'm not even going to blame him. Like, the 2 goals were pretty hard to stop. Like, one was on a power play. So, but apart from that, he was really steady today. Um, yeah, that's really all I got. Really, everybody else played well. If they can keep this up today, it's a good way to start 2026, honestly.
Yeah. So again, big win. And like you said, winning in spite of their best players kind of playing lackluster is not a luxury this team has had for many years now. Like last year, the year before that, when they were winning, it was on the back of like Larkin, Raymond, DeBrincat, Kane, those kind of guys. Being able to win in spite of that, like being able to talk about a JT for line. And we've had weeks where, Rasmussen was our MVP and AHL player John Leonard was our MVP. Andrew Kopp has had a couple weeks where he has had like a weak MVP case on this show. Like winning in spite of your best players not being your best players is just something that like when they find their game again, you can count on a hot streak. So big takeaways there. And we're going to be talking about some of the key players. We mentioned Seider, we mentioned Kopp. We're also going to be talking about Bernard Docker and Mason Appleton, getting some midseason report cards out of the way. Next week, we're going to be covering 4 more players and a handful more players after that. Continuing to go for a couple weeks here. All that, including the World Juniors and more in the second segment of the Kicking Tires podcast. So stay tuned for that. All right. Segment 2, Kicking Tires podcast here. We're going to start off with some midseason report cards. So we'll start off with a bit of the headliner here. Moritz Seider, great season from him. Legitimately has pushed his way into every conversation from, distant heart conversations to defenseman of the year. Like he's been one of the top 3 defensemen in the NHL this season. He might not be number 2 or so. All kinds of stuff like that. Like Seider's had an incredible year. My biggest gripe with him was the offensive production. Like it wasn't really there. He's turned it around and has, been pushing his pace a lot. Like he might get 60 points. The pace that he's had in December is point per game. Like he's just been absolutely incredible. His defensive work is among, if not the best in the league. Like Moritz Seider is sneaking his way into conversations that Red Wings fans didn't see possible. And I think a year ago, when we were talking about maybe a ceiling for Moritz Seider, it's a conversation that like I think anybody should be uncomfortable having now, just because Todd McClellan has really unlocked something in him, and seeing him grow, he might be a little bit more of a late bloomer, even though he's already been so good. So Shola, I guess, where do you want to start off with these grades? Because we're going to be grading them compared to the entire NHL. So like McDavid, McKinnon would be A+ players. that kind of tier. Makar would be an A+ player. I think if we're gonna be doing it like that, comparing him to the entire NHL, I would argue Seider is an A+. I think he's as valuable as any of those guys are. Like advanced numbers are something that Seider has always been a darling in, but he's a top three player in his position. Like he's a top three defenseman, certainly a top two right side defenseman. There's a case that he's number one. There's a case that he might be the best defenseman in the NHL this season, depending on what you see from Kel Makar. I think that you have to give him that A+. I think he's contributes to winning as well as anyone in the NHL right now. Obviously, there are certain guys who are just like McDavid's just on another stratosphere, and McDavid is a class better than Moritz Seider, but the letters only go so high. All right, so I think Moritz Seider, I think you have to give him that A+. I think he is a superstar this season, which is something that Red Wings fans have not had in so many years.
Yeah. I think, well, honestly, if you compare him towards other Red Wings players and you're comparing him to the league, I think you have to give him an A+. He deserves an A+. He is an A+ player. You take Moritz Seider off this defense or off the team in general, this Red Wings team is not that good. Okay, I'm lying, but like they're like he's
It's
still
much,
that much
yes.
of a
It's a
valuable. They're
different
just
team. Yeah.
yeah, they're much worse than if he is there. Like Alex talks about it, his advanced stats, he's up there with the best. He's definitely a top three defenseman in the league. His offensive production, his defense production, his time on the ice, he's that valuable that I think he has the highest time of ice on in the league. He might have the top two at least. Um, he's always there. He's his power play. Honestly, not even power plays. He's getting more goals and more points with full strength out there. But I think like during the beginning of the season, there was a lot of like back and forth with Mo Sider because he was playing fantastically, but he would also have some dumb mistakes, like he would give the puck away, or he would do some stupid stuff, and just like it would just be like something you would not expect out of a superstar. But you seeing him now in December, like he's on fire. I think he's over a point per game. Um, he has like 7 points in his last five, something like that. Like he's on fire. He's scoring goals. He's getting assists. He's up there defensively. Like he has to be an A+ player, and there's nothing else around it. Honestly, there's nothing else I can say about him. He's in Norris conversations, he's in MVP conversations, and he deserves to be there. So if he can stay there for the rest of the season, you gotta give him at least a vote in each discussion. Honestly,
Yeah. Yeah. And like you said, like time on ice, like among right-handed defensemen, he is number one. There are 6 left shots above him: Matheson, Sanderson, Provorov, Heiskanen, and Morensky and Hughes. Um, of the right shots, he has 1 second more time on ice than Cale Makar. Um, like he has just been an absolute workhorse for this team, like driving play from his own end, which is something that's been, they've been missing since Shane Gostisbehere got there, like somebody who can really control play, offensively, direct play out of the zone. Like it's not something you take for granted, and it's not something that shows up on the box score. So, a lot of credit to Moritz Seider. I think he's certainly earned that A+. Um, let's talk a little bit about some maybe not superstar players. Some guys who might not even be in that B range, but certainly players who have been big for this month of December. Let's start with Andrew Kopp. So Kopp obviously had a pretty slow start to the season, like handful of points, no real goals for a while. Nothing too crazy from Kopp. For a guy you're paying $5 million, you want to see a little bit more from that. But then when he got put up to that second line, like he was buzzing with DeBrincat and Kane. And then he was even buzzing when Kane got taken off that line due to injury. And it was John Leonard from the AHL up there. Like Kopp has been, consistently putting up some of the most points on that line, no matter who's with him. So what do you think of Andrew Kopp's season? Like season as a whole, obviously his month of December has been like B+. Like he's been one of the best, like second line centers in hockey in the month of December. But like season as a whole, like where do you kind of what letter grade would you kind of see yourself giving him?
I think I'm more in the I'm gonna for if it's whole season, I might give him like a C plus B minus range. It might be a little high for him because in the
I
beginning of
think
the
that's where
season, like he was pretty mediocre. He was
yeah,
really
like
mediocre. He got
very
him
home
like
run.
maybe 1 point in like the first 10 games, or two or 3 points in the first 10 games, 15 games. He stepped it up mightily in the month of December and a little bit in November. Right when Kane got injured, he stepped it up mightily. But in the beginning of the season, you really weren't getting enough from him. Like I think the only goal he had in like the first 10 games was that empty netter. And then now you're seeing what he can provide. I talk about it all the time when he was with Kane and DeBrincat, that line, like the fluidity it brings, like anybody can carry the puck and all that. So you can see what the potential with him is. Like he has 5 points in his last 5 games. He's doing what he needs to do to help this team succeed. And there's just you have he has what it takes to win, and he has what it takes to provide for the team. And yeah, honestly, Alex said it. He's one of the best second line centers in the league during the month of December, and he could, if he keeps it up, be one of the second, one of the best second line centers in the league throughout the entire year. Because if you just scratch out maybe the first 2 months of the season, he's been one of
Yeah.
the best in the league. So I would say B plus, C minus, that type of range. He's a good player, but compared to most of the centers in the league, you can probably say he's average.
Yeah, like I kind of fall to the same line. I think C plus is kind of where I land for Cop. Like, very good defensively. He's been able to facilitate offensively. Again, like it's gonna take a little bit more. Gonna take a little bit more time to really get a consensus on Cop because you have such a great month preceded by two very mediocre months. Where like this month you might like be like a high B or like even like a low A. I don't think would be too crazy. But before that, you'd have him in like that low C, high D tier. So a little bit more time is needed to pass, but I think a C plus for Andrew Kopp. Again, that B minus range, I don't think is crazy to say either. He's on pace for like 40 points, which would be really nice. Is something you'll take from him. He's been able to operate with whoever, whenever, and even on that second power play unit, he's sneakily been a guy who's meant a lot there. So again, I'm sure Detroit's been very happy with his both production and performance. Um, all right, let's get into a guy who probably hasn't been as good, hasn't really started off pretty decently, but has gotten a little bit worse as the season has gone on. You got Jacob Bernard Docker and like how he's been playing. Obviously, the numbers aren't looking as great as they used to with Albert Johansson. So, where are you at with Jacob Bernard Docker? Obviously, a bit more of a rotational guy, but one who's hasn't been great nonetheless.
Yeah, honestly, I'm a little bit conflicted with him. Um, he has been pretty good. Like, I think he's more like I think in the beginning of the season when you had MBN on this team, like he was getting deployed out with MBN as like a more checking, more defensive line. And I think that's really his role. If I were to give him a specific letter grade, he would have to be in the C minus D plus range because if I'm being realistic, his points, he's on 1 point this entire season. He's only played in around half the games because he is a rotational guy. But I think you expect a little more out of him. He has been pretty good defensively. Um, he's good checking. He's good blocking shots. But there's just I think you would want a little bit more out of your defenseman, and I don't know if he's been providing that. So he's
Yeah.
just been a pretty mediocre. Like he's not really someone who stands out. Obviously, Alex said in the beginning of the episode, like he doesn't really make his presence felt as much as most defensemen do. You like a Simon Edmondson, even an ASP, a Mo Seider. Like he's not one of those defensemen, but he's not a bad defenseman. So I think C plus that sort of range is a good range for him. Sorry, not C plus. C minus is a good range for him. but like you expect a little bit more out of him. Hopefully, he can get a little bit more points, but that's not really his role on this team. So we'll see by the end of the season, but he's been okay.
Yeah, I probably lean to the lower side of that a little bit. Like I just see a guy who's his puck moving hasn't been very good. That's kind of like one of his strengths coming in. Obviously, shot blocking and puck moving were like two of the things he was supposed to be better at. Is puck moving. He feels like he ices the puck a lot. Him and Albert Johansson, like it's a little bit cause and effect because you know Johansson has looked bad with both Hamonic and Bernard Docker, so it makes you wonder if it's a problem with him. But Bernard Docker has really not impressed me for a while now. Like offensively, I've seen him jump up in the play a couple times. Like I've seen good flashes, but ultimately, it feels like whenever he's in his defensive zone, even against pretty mediocre competition, he struggles. Him and Johansson both struggle. It's not uncommon to see them hemmed in on the ice, and like he's only played like about half the games. I believe it's 21-19 split. But Hamonic's not a very good defenseman, and at of age 24, you can't split. You can't beat out Travis Hamonic at this point in your career. It says a lot about the kind of player you are. And I think, he's not a plus penalty killer. He's not been a plus at even strength. So I don't know. It's tough for me to give him like a better grade in good conscience. So I probably lean towards a D plus. Like needs to have a much better new year if he wants to stay on this team. And I'm really not opposed to looking for trade options to replace him. So for the last player on our report card list, before we talk about the World Juniors a little bit, we're actually going to take one quick second here before we do that because my Mac is about to die. You guys won't notice anything, but quickly we're going to do that and then talk about Mason Appleton and the World Juniors. All right. Now that that's done, sorry, quick intermission. Let's talk about Mason Appleton. He's a guy who also, like, speaking of Bernard Docker, we're talking about rotational guys. That has been Mason Appleton this season. Like, that right wing spot has been heavily coveted in the bottom six, like between Soderblom, Kane, Appleton, JVR's played there, MBN at times, John Leonard at times. Like, it's been a heavy rotation. So what have you thought of Mason Appleton and I guess his game to this point?
To be honest, like I think I'm not gonna say he's similar to JBD because I have seen a little bit more from Mason Appleton. Obviously, he's been injured a little bit. He's been out of the rotation a little bit. He's only played well, he's played in 30 of the games, so he's missed a couple of them. If I were to give him a grade, maybe a C. Like I think middle of the pack is where I'd put Mason Appleton. That's not
Yeah.
like I'm not gonna say he's bad. He's not a bad player. I've seen a pretty good things from him. Obviously, you just saw the goal that he got against the Maple Leafs on Sunday. So you can see there's flashes that you can see from him. I think like with the whole bottom six and bottom six, and you're seeing we are talking about the scoring problems and all this. You're seeing it come alive now. Like you're seeing it with JVR, you're seeing it with JT Comper, you're seeing it with even Michael Rasmussen. So Mason Appleton can come back into this team and just come in and score a couple of goals here and there, get a couple of points every couple of games. Like I think that's something you would like that from him. Like
Yeah.
obviously he's coming back from injury. Um, or he's been out of the rotation a little bit. He's come back. So if you can just get something from him here and there, that's all you need from him. Like he's not going to be that standout guy, but you just get a little bit here and there from him. That's all you can ask for, honestly.
Yeah. Like I think he's a guy that like you're never mad when he's in the lineup. Like he's a high motor guy, plays with good pace. He checks well. He's like a better forechecking. I mean, like he's not physical, but like he forechecks well, he back checks well. Responsible penalty killer, like decent with the puck. He's shown that he can score. Like he can pot a couple goals. He has a couple big goals. Obviously, the Toronto game, he scored a really big goal. He's kind of been decent up and down the lineup. You can put him in anywhere. You can put him in a checking role. You can put him like a pace role. You can make him like a honey badger in the top six. Mason Appleton's been open to whatever. He's been able to slot in everywhere. So, if he stays healthy, you're a guy that you want to have. He's a guy that, a lot of playoff teams love. So if at any point you do want to move off him, if at any point you want to, bring up MBN or continue to put John Leonard up, like if he's willing to be moved, obviously you don't want to trade a guy right after you signed him, but if he's willing to be moved, like I could see a lot of contenders being really interested in Mason Appleton services. So I kind of land in that same C plus, C minus range, kind of anywhere in there. Like I think that's pretty much who Mason Appleton is as a player, and it's not necessarily a bad thing. Um, so let's talk about the World Junior. Speaking of a bunch of players that were not super keen to, no top tier prospects are going to be playing a big role. Carter Bear's in the rotation for Canada, most recent first round pick, but you have quite a cast of players here. You have Carter Bear, who is obviously, again, like I said, the 13th overall pick. A little bit slower of a year in the WHL this season, like 27 points in 23 games. It's not really what you want to see in somebody with their draft plus one. You can kind of hope for more there, but Carter Bear is going to be playing Max Plant, who was just dominating the NCAA. He might win the Hobie Baker, which is really nice. Uh, Dominant playmaking wing. Expect to see a lot of flashes of that from him. Don't count too much on scoring touch, at least not at this level, but in the NCAA is a very decent scorer. You have Mitchell Sverchek, who is going to be playing for the Slovaks. Small, skilled winger, decent facilitator as well. Like he can pass, he can play make well. He's a bit of a dual threat on offense, not too much to his defensive game right now. And you have Eddie Yenborg for Sweden, big physical body, and Michael Pradell, not sure how it's said, also for Team Slovakia in that he's had great stats in the USHL. From this most recent draft, we've seen a little bit of him through prospect tournaments and everything. So those are the guys you're going to be keeping an eye on out there. A little bit more in depth if you look up my posts for Inside the Rink on it. I'll be keeping you guys up to date with everything going on there. But that's just some news on the World Junior front. And finally, the big piece of news this week, there wasn't too much, but Patrick Kane returned, Mason Appleton returned, and John Leonard has been sent back to the AHL. If he played one more game, he'd need waivers. He doesn't need waivers as it stands, so get him back down there. Let him continue to feast in the AHL, and with Detroit or not next season, hopefully he can earn himself a real NHL contract, make a bit more money. But he certainly showed coaches, GMs that there might be more to him than just an AHL forward. So that's been our second segment. We're going to be taking a quick break, and we'll be right back with you guys for segment number 3, which is our week MVPs, talking a little bit about the Jets game and our best moment of the week. Segment 3, Kicking Tires podcast. Thank you guys for staying with us on this delayed episode. We're going to start off with our week MVPs and best moments, as we always do. This week, I've decided to give it to a player who probably deserves it because I've gone with a handful of off the board picks. I've taken Bergie, I've taken JVR, I took John Leonard last week. I got to give it to Moritz Seider. I've had high praise from recently. Has completely converted me. I do believe he's been this team's MVP this season. I said it was Larkin, I said it was DeBrincat at points, but as they got cold, Moritz Seider has been able to keep the team afloat. So I go Seider all the way here. And for my best moment, it's got to be the Larkin overtime winner. Again, if that's my game of the year, the game winner's got to be up there too. So, Chola, what do you have, and who do you have?
Um, for my MVP, obviously I say this every week. We love to have parity on this show. So I usually always give it to Mo Sider. So I'm gonna give it to Lucas Raymond this week. He had 4 points in 3 games. He's still being Lucas Raymond. He's on fire. He's ninth in the league in assists. He had 4 assists this week. So if he can keep it up again in the Jets game, hey, who knows? He could climb, but he's been on a good pace this year. He's been playing fantastic. So I'm gonna give it to him. And my best moment, again, parody. I would have probably given it to the Larkin overtime winner because that was a gross shot and a gross way to get it. But I'm gonna give it to the JVR pass. Honestly, I'm not gonna give it to the Larkin goal. It was all because of that
Setup.
JVR pass. That
Yeah.
pass was ridiculous. I don't know how we did it through his legs and the Stars defenseman's legs, but he got it to work and it worked. So I'm just gonna give it to him. That's my best moment. And if I were to give a secondary best moment, I'll give it to the Simon Edmondson game winner off
Yeah.
the mistake from the goalkeeper of the Maple Leafs. But primary best moment, I'm just gonna give it to JVR because that was fantastic.
Yeah. So there we go. And Detroit's taking on Winnipeg in a few hours now. Winnipeg is on an L7, which is terrifying, frankly, because I do not want to face a team on that cold of a losing streak. You just feel like they're about to break through at some point just off luck. Um, but that game is going to be on tonight, New Year's Eve, as we're talking about this. And then they head into Pittsburgh for a back-to-back. Pittsburgh has been worse as of late, but every Red Wings fan knows that Sidney Crosby and Evgeny Malkin seem to have the Red Wings numbers through and through. And we'll be back with you before the Ottawa Senators game, which we were supposed to go to, but I have to be back at school for that, so unfortunately I'm not going to be there. But yeah, all kinds of things happening. So Shola, as we always do for these 3 games, what is your prediction on the week?
Um, Usually I'm pretty spot on with these predictions. Last week I said 3-0. I was wrong. They went 2-1. They could have went 3-0, but they decided to break my heart. Alex was right though. So
I said I would have taken
um
2. I don't think they'd do
yeah,
it.
you would take, I don't know, he said they're gonna do it, but um the game today, I'm gonna say they dominate. They're gonna win. The game tomorrow, I'm a little bit more scared of
Oh yeah,
because
oh my
it's a
god, we have to
back
take.
to back and they're in Pittsburgh and it's on New Year's Day. So what if they're getting the champagne in and all this and they're partying? But no, I'm just kidding. I'm just gonna go. I'm gonna say you know what? I'd like to have faith in this team. I've been very over aggressive with the amount of wins this team should get, and I'm going to be over aggressive this week as well. I'm going to give it 3-0 this week. They're going to win all 3 of their games. If not counting the Senators game because we record on
Yeah,
Mondays, so
we'll
three
talk
and
about that.
zero. They beat Pittsburgh both times, and they're going to beat the Jets today. So that's what I'm going to get. Alex, what do you have?
I'll go. I'm worried about the game tomorrow because we're going to be tired because it's the first night of a back-to-back for us, but Pittsburgh doesn't actually play today. So I'll say 2-0-1. I think we lose to Pittsburgh in overtime, but 5 of 6 points would still go a long way in these standings. So we'll definitely take that. We'll definitely be back with you at a proper time next week. But thank you guys nonetheless for tuning in. We're gonna have all the usual stuff out. If you're seeing this through, there's gonna be a post coming up with like the full report cards that I have out, my personal takes on what they're gonna be. That's gonna be coming out pretty soon, so you might be seeing this through that. No matter how you're seeing us, we thank you for sticking with us. We thank you for being, with us for this last quarter of the year. Over 2,000 downloads in that time. We've talked about it. It means a lot that you stuck with us even through some inconsistent timing, some real startup times, change in hosts, interviewees. For all the things that we've had, you guys have stuck with us. So, formal thank you. Happy New Year's. Drive safe. Stay off the roads if you're inebriated, but don't let that stop you from partying hard as long as you're being safe. From your host Alexander de Berardinas,
And show.
we thank you guys for sticking with us this holiday season, and we hope to see you back around next holidays as well. So, take care, guys.